Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We're getting closer and closer now to the Aquatics GB Championships, as me and Dan call it, British Champs, in just over a month's time. And we are, of course, inviting another guest on who's making great strides in the UK swimming scene this year in Tyler Melbourne-Smith.
Yeah, Tyler is becoming one of the strongest freestylers in the UK, I think. We all know that it's really hard to break onto the British team for freestyle, but I think he's going in the right direction for sure. So we'll get his thoughts on that, of course, as well as his journey in the sport so far from Dubai all the way through to Loughborough as he is now.
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea he started his journey in Dubai, and quite frankly, I was surprised at how little he has spent out of a pool throughout his whole, almost 20 years in swimming so far.
I mean, we'll get to it. We'll get onto it, yeah.
We will. Tyler is one of the most versatile swimmers in this country. He races from the 200 meters all the way up to the 1500. He's a multiple age group champion in Britain. He will be aiming at several distances at British Champs this year. And, well, let's see if we can answer the question with him. What is his optimal distance for the future? So let's jump into this week's episode. Okay, so please welcome on to this week's podcast, Tyler Melbourne-Smith. Tyler, thank you for joining us this week. You've just finished training, so what's been happening today in Loughborough?
So woke up this morning, did a 8K aerobic set, come back, sleep, go to a lecture, do a bit of coursework, and then train again. And did gym after the morning training. So yeah, it's been a busy day.
Long day. Wow.
Yeah.
So you started your journey. Like, we literally just talked before we started recording. We thought you started your journey at Liverpool, but your journey goes much further back out in Dubai. So talk us through the clubs and the stops that you've had on your way to getting to Loughborough.
So I've been swimming my whole life basically. Since I was like from 3 months old, from like water babies, and I've always been part of a club. So I, when I was younger, I was in Dubai at Hamilton Aquatics. Then I, basically when I was 7.5, moved to England, went to Ellesmere College for 1.5, 2 years. Then I went back home where I was born in Warrington, Warriors of Warrington. Spent a few years there, went to Liverpool, and that's where I spent quite a lot of my junior years progressing. And then once I hit the age to go to uni, joined Loughborough.
So you were born in Warrington, but what made you, or not personally for you obviously, but when you got to Dubai, what was the reason for Dubai? I assume parents working, was it?
So yeah, my dad worked there, and my parents just wanted me to be safe in the water because, obviously, you know the ocean and all that. So that's how I got into swimming, basically.
And Hamilton's a big old setup as well. What was that like, being part of that?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's hard in Dubai. It's like Hamilton. There's a few other good clubs. So, when I would go back for holidays, train with some good coaches at a club called Fit Republic. But that it's kind of fallen apart now. But yeah, Hamilton's good. I think there's quite a lot of swimmers that progress out there into American colleges, back into the UK, and Ash Morris, you'd see him at Repton, Rick Hall at Stockport. So it's a good club.
So it sounds like you've literally always been in water since almost the day you were born. So what's the longest you've gone without being in the pool?
Probably 3 weeks, maybe.
Oh, wow. Man.
Yeah.
What is it then about swimming, other than the fact that your parents wanted you to be safe? What has kept you in the pool that long?
I think it's just a normal habit now. So training, all that. Obviously like sport, but I think the thing I like the most is the competitive side of it. And when you're good at something, you want to be as competitive as possible.
Okay.
So that's what drives me to train every day and wake up every day. So,
and there's never been a day where you thought, I don't want to do this swimming stuff anymore because I've done it every day.
No. Yeah, there's never been a day, no.
Oh, that's a good place
to
be
in.
Yeah, that's a good place to be in. So why the move to Loughborough then? You say you want to be competitive. That is one of the best distance squads. I mean, we said it in the world.
Yeah.
At its peak.
Yeah.
Why join that squad out of everyone?
But when you pick unis, the only uni I ever wanted to join really was Loughborough, because of the squad. Because when I joined, there was Felix, Dan, Nathan, Lucas Holmberg just joined, and there was like other big swimmers like Andreas and like the other groups. So I thought, I came from a club where I basically trained by myself, and I wanted to be pushed. I wasn't too bothered about going somewhere where I was going to be the best. I was actually more like, if I'm not the best and I'm actually near the bottom, it'd push me more.
Sure.
Because I'd want to stick with these world class swimmers. So yeah, that's why I joined Loughborough.
So it was swimming orientated more so than the study and the degree.
It was also studying orientated because it's good uni, it's good education.
Yeah.
So I thought it was probably the best place in Britain where I could get, for me, to get a good education sport life balance.
Now we'll talk a little bit about your age group journey later, but over recent, maybe past 18 months, maybe just a little bit less than that, you've kind of confused me and Dan in terms of what distance is the best distance for Tyler Melbourne-Smith, because your age group, coming through the age group system, it was the 8, the 15 was where I think it looked like your future lied. But personally, what do you perceive as like your optimal distance right now?
I don't have one at the moment, so I'm still not. I don't. I train every day right now for 1500.
Okay.
I don't do any 200 training. I train with the distance squad at Loughborough for 1500, but I'm not doing 1500 at Champs, which is. But I'm not dropping it, so I'm not dropping the 50. I think this year I'm looking over 200, 400, and 800.
Okay,
sure.
And there's not one event. I'm just leaving the 1500 for a tiny bit and coming back later, maybe like in a few months, maybe a year, like next season. But I wouldn't say there's anything.
What's the reason for that?
So I feel like my 200s progressed quite a lot. I'm within a range you could like where you start to look at the relay in summer. And I feel like if you do a program of 2, 4, 8, 15, you're not putting yourself in the best opportunity for that relay.
Yeah. Okay.
True.
So you don't know where your distance lies, but which one do you enjoy racing the most? They're all very different, and it's a very different landscape when you race them.
Yeah.
I think they are all very different. I do like the 2.
Okay.
And the 4. I mean, like I do like them all. It's just very different. So, like the 400, I do really like. Like I like the tactical aspect of it, and like I feel like there's always a good race there. If you're with someone, there's always a good race.
Yeah.
But like the 200 is just, I've never really, until the start of the season, Andy and I sat down and we spoke about 200. But before that, like I've never took it serious.
Okay.
It was always just one of those events that I would do for fun.
Yeah.
And then, I would just do it for fun, and then I just was kind of good at it. So then I dropped time, and like earlier this season at Box, I wasn't meant to do it. And then I got 2 people pulled out for illness. Then they put me in, and I knew I was gonna do all right. Like Charlie and I knew we were gonna go 1-2 on the 200, and then we've just taken it a bit more serious.
So when it comes to your training, then obviously today you said you went to the gym. So what would you be doing in the gym? I assume it's then not sort of your heavy weights, low reps type thing. So what would you be doing?
No, I do basically what all the distance swimmers do, like more reps, less weight.
Right.
But we've actually changed today to this week to like more twitchy stuff because we're in a race phase.
Okay. So you're gonna stay with that sort of range, even though the 1500 is.
So like I feel like for me right now it's working.
Right. Okay.
So what I'm doing is working.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm older and I've got a better idea of exactly what I want to do, and like let's say I decide I'm gonna become a 2-4 swimmer, then I'll maybe tweak a few things. But for now, I feel like I'm doing 75k weeks, like, and it works, and it gives me a good aerobic base.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And I'm naturally quite a twitchy swimmer, so like I get the best of both worlds basically.
So you've said multiple times you don't know where your distance lies.
Yeah.
You're not specializing down at all, and you say you might specialize down on when you're older, but there's going to be younger age group swimmers in this just saying, well, look, that 4x2 relay, every British swimmer wants to be
Yeah,
a part of that.
yeah.
So like, why is it important, especially to get to where you are now, that you haven't specialized down? How's that helped you?
Well, I feel like once you go down, so like let's say once you go down to 200, let's say I went down just to 200 training, it's probably a bit harder to go back up.
Okay.
And like if you look at the 8:15.4 in Britain, there is a massive opportunity. Like there's not many people doing it, at the top level.
Yeah.
You could say maybe James Guy, Kieran Burge, that's literally all you could say, I think. And it's not like I've still got a good shot on like the 8.4, I think, right? I feel like my 800, I've got a lot to drop. Like I feel like I've not really showed what I could do fully. So I just I don't see the need fully at this point to drop fully to 200 training.
And which event of the 2 up to the 15 do you think you have the most improvement for? Would it be the 800?
Yeah, I think maybe. Like, I feel like my 15 is just the worst one out of all of them at the moment. I feel like that could drop a lot, but it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of physiological stuff behind that and all.
See, this is why we're so confused. We have no idea what your
Yeah.
main event is right now.
Yeah, I feel, yeah.
It's a good place to be though, because it's not like you're going into champs and putting pressure on yourself for that final day that you've got to do a good 2-3. You've got some freedom.
Yeah, like I've figured it out. Like I've gone through it with Andy.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to get there on the last day and be absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about the here and now. So you're part of the amazing Loughborough distance.
Yeah.
You get all of the perks that comes with that, training with Dan with him. But what challenges did you face as an age group swimmer, swimming the distances that were necessary for an 8 and a 15 as you were coming through?
I don't know. I didn't really face too many challenges.
Okay.
I'd say one of the challenges I felt when I was younger was just having not many people push me in training. So it was quite you'd train by myself basically on my own turnarounds, do my own set. And I wouldn't really have many people around me to stick with push. So or just by myself basically.
So what tricks did you use to kind of get you through that, to make sure you kept improving and battling with yourself almost?
I've always just wanted to be the best.
Okay.
So for me, it's like if you're not pushing yourself, someone else is.
Sure.
So that's basically what.
It sounds like you have to be incredibly mentally strong to
Self-motivated, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
So you talked about saying today, for example, you did every sort of week you do 75k. What sort of stage through your age group journey did it get to that sort of level? Like what point did it sort of really go up quite a lot in terms of
I would say when I was at Liverpool, I was doing maybe 65, 60k.
Okay.
It was when I joined Loughborough, I pushed up a bit to 10 sessions. I used to do 9 sessions a week.
Okay. And the endurance side must help, in terms of stroke efficiency and distance push, stuff like that. So be able to do the distance events as well as the 4 and even the 2, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. I think it's helped. I think, yeah.
I mean, that's 6. Even I'm just doing out the math now. 65k in 9 sessions a week while at school, trying to get to university as well. I literally listened to a podcast earlier where they were saying that is the most challenging part of any journey.
Yeah.
Is just getting through that. It's almost like the tipping point from age group to getting onto a university, making it a little bit more professional, having a little bit more time, a little bit more freedom. So, what advice would you give for anyone? Because, I mean, exam season's kind of round the corner. It's not that far away. What advice would you give for any age group swimmers that are looking to head down that middle distance swimming route?
What, with the school and swim balance?
Yeah, like all of the meters and everything you did on your journey.
I don't know. Like, for me, I had a really supportive school.
Okay.
So it was a lot easier for me. Like, I could finish training and I was allowed to go to school like maybe an hour later when it started.
Okay.
And they were really like supportive. So like, let's say I need to go away for a week,
Yeah.
swimming like competition camps. They supported me quite like really well. But I know like some people have struggled with it, and I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't let the school bully you in a way into making like. I feel like a lot of schools make you feel like swimming's not important and you should focus on your education and all that. But like, I feel like you just need to find the balance. You need to find the perfect balance for yourself, basically. And I feel like that's different for everyone.
Does it get easier at any point? You must have had like hard weeks and maybe even hard months, but is there a point where it does get slightly easier?
Yeah. I feel like because I've been doing it for so long, though, like you just get used to it. I think the hardest point actually was when I was doing my A levels.
Okay.
And like you're doing like, let's say you can do exams for like 4 hours a day. You go in at night and you're so tired. Yeah.
It's like that mental endurance more than anything.
Yeah, but I think you just have to speak to your coach, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so the rest of between now and champs, then you don't have a target, champs. We discussed that. What's happening in training between now and champs? There's the Edinburgh International in between it all.
Yeah.
But what are you guys going to be doing in the pool?
So we've just ended like a big capacity phase where like all the threshold, we went to altitude for 3 weeks, like a lot of aerobic, just a lot of threshold, like basically. We just finished that and we've gone into like a high intensity basically. So heart rate sets, race pace, the gym's changed. So I think all like now it's about focusing more on the actual racing rather than like the meters are behind you basically. Even though the meters are still high, you've got them in the bank there. So you can focus on like the small details.
And what would they be for a distance swimmer? Like the turns, I imagine?
Yeah, so for me, like the turns are like a massive thing. Like I've got a lot to work on there.
We saw that. Well, we posted a clip at Bucks of your 0 underwater strategy.
Yeah, I'm working a lot on there, and it's just like heart rate sets, different type of training, just to get you in a good place for champs, basically. And like Edinburgh is like it is a competition. I think it's like a week and a half.
Yeah,
it'll be So that is part of our program.
And it's a good one, Edinburgh. It sits nicely enough that you know what's going on, but you've still got a little bit of time before champs.
Yeah, so if it goes well, you're doing well, and if it doesn't go well, you've got time to basically.
Exactly.
It is a good prep meet, isn't it? It's like almost perfect. Was it 6 weeks away from champs, roughly speaking, something like that?
Yeah,
perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
So some of the fields that you're going to be racing against at British champs, I know you said like the distance side isn't as deep as it once was, and we're talking about a guy who's just left that in a second. But why do you think freestyle, especially in this country, has always been so strong? Like 200 and mainly the 2, but we've always had good freestylers in this country. Do you know why that is?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like now. So I feel like from like the 2021 Olympics, I feel like that has kind of trickled down on everyone. So everyone now wants to be part of that relay. It's just a fact. You've got like 15 people who are capable of going a very good time, and like you've definitely got at least 15, 16 people all think of the relay. So I feel like that has trickled down, and people who are getting better are like, looking up to it. So like they want to be part of it, and I feel like that relay has got a big effect.
In a way, do you think that opens the door for the distance above as well, like the 4? Do you think it's more of an open door because everyone's
because more people are now focused for 200. Like there's less people in the 400, so I feel like there's a big big gap there.
So how confident are you that your training is going as well as it is, that you have a shot of potentially making that relay come
Or
for
the
summer?
4.
Or the 400, yeah, of course.
Or the
Yeah, I'm confident.
Yeah.
I'm very confident. I feel like for me, there's no pressure. I can go and like no one's really putting pressure on me.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like I can just swim, do my thing.
So what is the aim for Champs then, if you have one?
So my aim is, well, if you ask me right now, what do I want to do in summer? I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to go to World Champs, be on the relay, potentially for 400 free. Like that's just a fact. But I know like it's not easy, but nothing is. And I've also got an opportunity at under 23s.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's lots of racing this summer, which is
Yeah.
it's a good place to be going into Champs.
Yeah, but for me right now, I'm just focused more on myself, just making sure that I'm not getting too far ahead of myself and just like keeping a steady head.
Yeah.
Now, before we kind of wrap up this podcast, we've got to end by talking about a fellow Welsh racing distance swimmer in Dan Jervis, and like there's a gap now in the distance scene because he's no longer there. Do you think maybe the distance landscape changes when it comes to Champs in terms of racing the 8 and the 15 because there's no Dan to look at?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like there's now quite a few.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people near the same area who can win.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like there's still like a big drop off that's needed for someone to fill in the gap that is left.
Yeah, so it's almost a shame that the Whiffins aren't allowed to come in as a guest swimmer and drive the field, but who knows?
It is what it is. Dan I thought was almost a bit of a pacemaker for those longer distance events. So because let's say the pacemaker's not there, does that then impact your tactics going into the race?
Probably not.
Okay.
No. I feel like him and Toby actually had a really good race last year.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I feel like he's left a massive gap. To be fair,
in a way, it might make a more interesting
race itself. Yeah, because you'd see him every year go in and he'd dominate basically.
Yeah, sub 15.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler, it's been great chatting to you this evening. Now we do usually finish with some quick fire questions. This first one is we've answered it kind of already. So what's your favorite event in swimming?
Right now, 200 and 400. Right now.
Yeah.
Who's your swimming idol?
Michael Phelps.
What's the proudest moment of your swimming career so far?
Probably winning. No, not winning. Oh no, I would say either winning Youth Commonwealth or actually medaling. I'd say medaling on the relay at Youth Commonwealth.
You got to go out to the Caribbean for that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Trinidad, I think.
Yeah.
Nice place to go and race.
Yeah, it was good.
What's the hardest set you've ever done in training?
Oh, okay. I've done the 100s, but I'd say it's all right.
It's all right. Okay.
Yeah. I'd say there was some sets in Turkey last year, but I can't put my finger on just one.
Okay.
Like there were some that were like really hard.
That's the thing of being a distance swimmer. I imagine that you've got them. Like,
there's just loads. There's loads.
List.
There was like one where it was like 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000.
And then back down, or just
No, up that, but it was holding like 102s for me. So the aim was holding 102s.
Oh man,
Yeah.
It starts out all right and just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
I suppose the easy way would be start at the K and then work your way down to the 100, but it's obviously the other way around, so it's going to be difficult. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And to get to know you a little bit away from a swimming pool, you go on a road trip. There's 3 spaces in the car. You can take friends, family, celebrities, anyone you want to take with you who would join you.
I would say Lionel Messi.
I don't think we've ever had him said on
Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lewis Hamilton.
Nice.
And who else? I think maybe, I don't know. Maybe Jesus. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. Nice. That's a cool car. Cool car.
Cool guy, yeah.
Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast this week. We didn't answer our total question of what distance works best for you. But I think we've got some good answers out of it anyway. I think
maybe that one's for the future.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be in, I think, especially so early on in your career. Best of luck for Champs.
Thank you.
In a few weeks' time, and hopefully we'll get to see you on a summer team as well later on this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that training's going as well as it is. So best of luck for Champs, and of course Edinburgh International is first. So best of luck for both of those.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan, we didn't answer the question that we set out at the start of this podcast, but nevertheless, I think it's a really interesting point that Tyler raises, that yes, his eyes are drawn to that 4x2 freestyle relay. Let's be honest, every decent freestyler in this country is going to be targeting the 4x2 unless you're an out-and-out sprinter and can only do the 4x1, which essentially has a very exciting future as well. But for someone who is training at 15, coming down to the 2 is interesting, but he also admits that the door's slightly more open in the longer distances because everyone's eyes are drawn to the 4x2. I think it's a really... We've posed this question or this conundrum several times on this podcast before, that maybe the distances in the country are bereft because of the 4x2 success.
I just don't blame swimmers for targeting a 4x2. That's the problem. It's like if you're top 6, you're on that relay and you think, like, I've got a really good chance of winning gold here at whatever major internationals coming up in the summer. So I really don't blame the swimmers. But like he was saying, like, it opens the door a little bit for the longer distance races. Now that, like we said at the end, Dan Jervis is now gone, there's a bit of a gap there for him to potentially go in the 4, 8 and the 15. I know that the racing is actually going to be better because Dan's not as far ahead as he is. So actually maybe the men's distance swimming is going to be a bit more exciting because it becomes more dramatic. But yeah, I just don't blame these swimmers targeting the 200. But it is interesting that he isn't training for the 200.
I know.
So I've sometimes got more questions than actual answers. Like, why don't you go down and actually do the gym work to improve the 200? But then the door's open for the longer distance. So yeah, it's a tough one. Conundrum, like you say.
I think what we have to remember is this is the start of an Olympic cycle. This is the first year of Olympic cycle. Swimmers are testing things out. This is the year to test things out because the Olympics is so far away. If Tyler comes away from the end of British Champs and, my God, is his 200 meters good enough for that 4x2 relay, then for the next 3 years, he could start focusing down on that and know that he's got that 1500 aerobic background in his back pocket. It doesn't sound like he's ever going to drop training at 1500 distances. I'll be honest with you.
It's working for him. So yeah,
it's working for him and it sounds like he loves it. But he can start to target certain specific things that helps his 2. But at the same time, if it doesn't work this summer, like he said, he can always go back up to the 8 and the 15 because he hasn't completely focused down and committed on to that 200 meters freestyle. It's a really good place to be at the start of, again, we don't like that it's a once every 4 year sport. We hate it, but you have to remember this is how things work in the scheme of Olympic cycles. Like, I even saw one of Duncan Scott's posts the other day that now is the time to start testing out what's working, what doesn't work, because you can only hone them for the next 3 years.
And Andy Manley's a smart coach. He'll know what's going on, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to see what Tyler does. Like, the reason we were so confused of what his best distance is because of the 200 freestyles that he's been putting out of bucks. They have been good. He has been beating quality fields. And he's been swimming them with an incredible back-end speed coming home. Keep an eye on him at Champs. Like I said, I don't know if the 2 is going to be the best. The 4, again, super interested to see what he does in that. And then the 8 as well.
Just watch him in every race.
We haven't got the answers, but we're going to enjoy watching him swim.
I think one thing to take away for you youngsters listening in, your age groupers, is don't specialize so early because he has almost a choice of almost every freestyler race right now, and that's because he hasn't specifically gone to one event.
Like you said, it's easier to come down as you get older
is.
than it is to go up. You've got
Exactly,
no chance of going up if you're starting
Exactly,
at the
yeah.
200 level. Okay, that just about rounds up this week's episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. I'm up in Edinburgh this weekend for the Edinburgh International. If you're there on poolside, if you're there in the stands, if you are somewhere near Edinburgh and you catch me in the street, come say hello. I might be a little bit tired because I'll be running around all over the place. Of course, in the street. Edinburgh's lovely. It's one of my favorite weekends of racing to go up there because it is the big first hit out before champs. You get to see where everyone's at. And as we've said multiple times, Scottish Swimming put on a really good meet. But we'll be back on the podcast in 1 week's time. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And me and Dan will see you in, well, maybe a few days' time if you're in Scotland, or in 7 days' time if you're a podcast fan.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone. I will catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.